We are making our own story as we go, as we go, as we go. Hoping, we are hoping that we'll go so happy ever after, happy ever after.
Hi, welcome to Your Dream Day podcast. I am your host, Kathy Piech-Lukas, and today we are talking with pink-haired Jen, also known as Jen Sulak from Weirdo Weddings photography. And today we're going to talk about that wedding, that not in the Tiffany blue box wedding, the out of the box wedding. So that unconventional wedding, that rock star wedding, that rock and roll bride, that offbeat bride, the wedding that isn't going to be that traditional wedding you expect. And this is what Jen specializes in. So Jen, thank you so much for joining us today.
I am so excited I could be here with you, Kathy. It's so much fun to be on the podcast.
Yay! So where did pink hair Jen come from?
Oh, this is two different fun stories because both of these brands, Weirdo Weddings and Pink Hair Jen, were kind of born out of the same era. It was, I spent a lot of time in lockdown, right? We were on Zoom calls all the time. We all discovered Clubhouse. We were all in there obsessively trying to connect with people and have conversations. And I got to tell you that Weirdo Weddings came out of that era of being locked down and really in a way, like seeking out what I was going to do with my photography business during 2020. And so all I did was give it a name to people I was already working with. It was fantastic because in the fine art community, we all call ourselves weirdos. And I was like, nobody's doing this in the wedding industry. So guess what? I am the weirdo that's going to name myself and go right into the wedding industry. And that's exactly what I did. Here I am 3 years later now. And the pink hair Jen part is fantastic because when we were hosting these Clubhouse rooms in the Wedding Pros on Clubhouse space, we had more than one Jen. So there's so many different Jens out there. And even now, like every time I'm in a Zoom call, there's like 5 Jens.
Oh,
so
goodness.
I just started telling people, call me pink hair Jen because I have pink hair.
I was going to say, you were born in that era where everybody was named Jennifer, Elizabeth. Was that your era?
Definitely in the 70s. There was this big point in the 70s where Jennifer was a very, very popular name.
Yes. It was in my era too. I remember in first grade, we had 2 Jennifers and 2 Elizabeths. And yes, that was the name in my era. Nobody seemed to be Kathy or Kathleen, which is my given name. My dad calls me Kathleen when he's scolding me, but that's it.
Oh my goodness. That's too fun. So yeah, I mean, that's just a quick backstory to the last 16 years of my life has brought me here to Weirdo Weddings and becoming pink hair Jen as well as an inspirational speaker. So it's been so much fun to explore and have this little adventure here. So thanks again for having me on today because I love talking weddings and I love thinking about thematic weddings too and anything outside the box.
Well, and you have a podcast as well, don't you?
I do. I started that as well, like as if we don't have enough. I started this is wedding related. This is Wedding Pro related. When I first had a kid, like you almost have like this identity crisis and you're like, do I be a stay-at-home mom or a parent? Do I still do my business? And I was one of those people that I always knew I wanted to work. And so my Tattoos and Toddlers podcast is literally about how you're running a business and having a family and also super fun tattoo stories.
Wow. Anybody who can run a business and be a mom, I could never do it. I'm a professional aunt. I specialize in spoiling.
I was going to say, we all have our own things that we run with our business, and we have caretaking. Sometimes we have elderly parents. Sometimes we have young children. Sometimes we are aunties and uncles. I'm not going to discount the pet parenting because I have 3 gray cats now. One is a senior citizen and I have 2 1-year-olds. So it's like,
oh gosh,
they are my children too. So it's like,
They're your fur babies.
They're my fur babies. They have personalities. Both Kathy and I can relate on the fact that our pets don't leave us alone when we're working. And especially on the podcast today, I locked all of the babies out.
Oh, my kitty cat, whose name is, yeah, and I'm not joking, her name is Luca Lucas.
Aw.
Luca with a C and then the last name with a K. Yes, the same thing. She's my unpaid assistant and she's on the other side of the door so that we can record this podcast in peace. Otherwise you'd be hearing meow, meow.
Exactly. And I love this topic that we have because it's like, it's totally my wheelhouse and my passion right now is just to really lean into the things that I know that I love. And I think as wedding pros, as the more we bring out who we are, the more we find the people that we want to work with. Isn't that fun?
Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that. I mean, I have a very, very specific style when it comes to my wedding planning. I'm very bubbly. I'm a little bit quirky. I'm definitely not stuffy. And that is going to be a good fit for some people. It's not going to be a good fit for some people. And that's okay. I mean, you want to find a wedding professional who is going to fit not only your budget, but your style and your personality. And when you're doing an unconventional wedding, you need to have a vendor team that understands how to help you embrace that theme, because really that's what it is. It's a themed wedding. When you have a themed wedding, you have to embrace every little detail about it or it won't work. It's not even so much as, well, we're going to do this one thing like this. If you do one thing like this and do everything else traditional, that untraditional part just disappears.
Yeah. And we're at this stage, I think we're at a really good stage in the wedding industry right now where people are learning how to educate themselves on that they have some wiggle room on decisions they can make on their wedding day. And I think that adds to this fuel of passion of mine to make sure that couples aren't just going by a 20-point checklist that somebody made on the internet. I like to think about weddings do have a recipe to them already, but you're welcome to add and subtract those things from your wedding day. And I think this is what's beautiful about my little hyper niche I have going is that my clients, they'll kind of run to the courthouse. And if they want to do a theme there, they will. Or if they want to dress in brilliant fair garb and get married in their backyard and have gnomes and fairies everywhere. Yes, those are my people too. And then I have the folks that rent out the venues and they have these, ready to go venue packages where everything is already set up. They just show up and they pick their outfits, whatever they want to wear, and they stay true to themselves. And I think this is what I'm here for. I'm here for helping somebody stay true to their wedding shape, look, feel, theme, whatever it is. And I think the traditional, I was telling Kathy when we first started this pre-conversation, I said, sometimes I get reverse culture shock now when I go to a mostly traditional wedding. This sounds terrible now. Like I am so used to not doing the traditions that are expected from a wedding, like a bouquet toss or a garter toss, things that you add into your wedding day that to me now, like, why have them? I know there's a reason behind them, but I'm always asking questions now, like, why do we have that? It's okay to ask those questions. If you want to do it, please go do it. But it's just funny that I've been such in the unconventional space for so long. I have to remember that, oh yeah, that's a traditional thing. I need to remember that.
One time I had probably the most memorable out of the Tiffany box wedding was a Renaissance Goth themed wedding. And the bride really embraced every little detail in this wedding. And it was gorgeous. It photographed beautifully. She had a black velvet dress with the long flowing sleeves like you would see at the Renaissance Festival. Yeah. And we had a seamstress who actually did costuming work for the Renaissance Festival here in Wilmington, Cincinnati area. Wilmington's in between Columbus and Cincinnati and Dayton. And so she made her dress, and then her veil was a silver mesh. And then she
Yeah.
had that same silver mesh inside the long sleeves. And then the bridesmaids all had maroon dresses, same style, very Renaissance with the long sleeves. And for the ceremony component of it, it was a Wiccan ceremony with a hand fasting ritual that was done. And then inside the reception, now the wedding was on Halloween. So we had a candy bar, obviously, but we also had black linens, black chair covers, black magic roses, which are a very, very dark blood red color. We had named all the table numbers after Harry Potter characters, and they were done in an old English font, and her invitations, same thing. They were done in an old English font with wax seals, but she embraced every little detail, and it worked because she embraced every detail. And the guests were just blown away with the level of commitment to the theme.
And there's something I like talking about when I'm talking about this particular topic is, do you get pushback from everybody in your family? Are your friends pushing back on your themes and ideas? And I like to think that we, again, have this ability to discuss our ideas and stick with them. And I think what I'm also hearing you say is it's just, owning every detail that you've brought to your wedding day and letting, obviously there's a team of people helping it all make it happen. And I was telling Kathy, I had an experience where I was trying to help a couple set up because something happened with the setup person wasn't able to show up. And I thought to myself, as a photographer, y'all, I'm a photographer, but I already know that I'm more than that now, because when something is not set up, I can't photograph it. And if I can jump in and help put it together, even if it takes 5 or 10 minutes, then I can feel confident that I have something to photograph, because I work with so many clientele that do not have the team behind them. And this happens all the time. These are real couples, y'all, real couples that they enlist their family and friends to help. But having a planner and coordinator definitely makes a difference when you're trying to make sure everything is set up on time. And oh my gosh, can I tell you how much I love timelines? I was just talking about timelines today because so many couples, because they are all in the unconventional realm for me, it doesn't mean they always have a timeline unless they are very event minded. They won't have a timeline unless somebody gives them a timeline, which I'm not a planner. I will never be a planner, but I've had to put on a planner hat every once in a while to help guide the timeline, because if I don't, whatever time they've hired me for, they're not going to get these specific images that they're expecting. And it's something that I think we take for granted with each other, with other wedding pros. Like, sometimes a photographer is not just a photographer. I'm emotionally supporting people. I helped put together an arch recently because, it just needed to get done quickly. So we're racing against time when it's an outdoor wedding and you have sunlight that's going away and you have to just help get it done. And so it's like I feel like some of us take on so many different hats, whether we realize it or not. And I don't think couples realize what's happening behind the scenes, because if we're doing our job right, correct, Kathy, they're enjoying themselves and they're not having to stress about certain things that we would say are stressors when we're running the event. So I feel like we've done a good job if they come back and say, I didn't know that was happening. And I was like, good, you didn't need to know that was happening, because that's our job.
Exactly.
To make it happen regardless and not add stress to your day. So I think we could probably agree on that. When any wedding, especially the thematic weddings, and we have the pushback from family and we have high emotions and we have people wanting to do an alternative ceremony that they're having to send out on their invitations that, by the way, if you disagree with our beliefs and our ceremony, we would ask that you kindly not come. I mean, this is happening. So our couples are learning how to speak up for themselves. They're learning how to do their days their way. And that makes me really excited.
One of my former assistants, he was with me all through college and then the first year of COVID. Bless his heart, he got the internship of a lifetime with the Academy of Country Music. He was supposed to be helping out with the awards show, and then COVID happened. he ended up staying with me a little bit longer, but ultimately he got his big boy job. So now he works as a marketing executive and he's doing very well for himself, but he's still our unofficial dream boy. He's already told me when I get married, I am doing a drag queen themed wedding. Everybody is coming in drag. I will be in drag. My boyfriend will be in drag, or my fiance will be in drag. My officiant will be in drag. And I'm like, okay, I get to be your planner, right?
And that brings up another fun point, Kathy. Like as a wedding pro who works unconventional and quirky and offbeat rock and roll types of weddings, is that my clients, I can sit down with them and say, can I wear what your theme is?
That's awesome.
If you're Halloween, can I take my Halloween idea into my outfit? I was going to say these Renaissance and Gothic and Halloween themes, for me, my clients, they're living this all year long. But obviously, depending on where you're located, October is a pretty heavy month for all of the fun, spooky things that we all put together. But like, I just love the fact that we can do that. We can run with these things. And my clients, I'll talk to them ahead of time, like, okay, so we're having a Renaissance Festival wedding. Can I wear my Star Trek uniform and look completely out of place? Or is that too much? And I'll get a yes or a no. Or, if they're having a certain color scheme, like I found out the one I was telling you about earlier that had the beautiful backyard wedding, they were wearing these beautiful purple tones and textures. And it just so happened I showed up in the right color. But normally I would say, tell me what you're wearing so I can kind of mimic the theme instead of just doing a complete blackout.
Right.
My clients love when I get to show up creatively for them as well, because technically I still disappear into the background because it's a thematic wedding.
I know that is like, because I usually wear black at weddings as well.
Right.
And it's more, the focus is not on me, it's on my couple. And the day is about them. It's not about me. I wear Skechers on my feet. I have a black pantsuit with a black jacket and a name tag, and that is my uniform. And I scream wedding planner. Scream wedding planner. Going back to the offbeat weddings, you've had a few featured weddings in some of these blogs, like Offbeat Bride, Rock and Roll Bride. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of those?
Yeah, I had the cover of Quirky Weddings because when I was starting my new brand, part of building, it's not that I didn't already have a ton of clientele I could pull from, but I also wanted to pull creatively and help couples get expansive on their ideas for their wedding days. So I met my friend Lizzie Gator, who has a homemade electric chair, and I thought to myself, Bride of Frankenstein. And so we did a Bride of Frankenstein thematic style shoot, and we had a blast putting it together, and it made the cover of a magazine. And it wasn't because we needed necessarily the vanity aspect of it, but as wedding pros, we're constantly thinking about how can we build our resume, right? So people take us seriously that we're doing this as a business and we're a voice in this industry. And so where Lizzie and I were at that time, we needed to make a statement. And we did it. You know how when you set goals and you achieve them, that's literally what it was. I still can't believe it happened because I'm like, oh my God, that was a lot of hard work. And OMG, the waiting and then putting it together and then picking their photos and telling the story. It's usually all on me, the photographer, because of how I work. And because it was, I'll call it my production that we all ended up having a hand in, that it was so much work. So it was nice to have that payoff, right? That goal was met. And I could then talk to clients about, hey, how do you feel about this for your wedding? Or would you take elements of this for your wedding? And I got to tell you, like, I am so impressed of how creative people are, especially the nerds out there. Us nerds, we know exactly what we're nerdy about. And we know if we want to go to legit character tones and colors and cosplays, or if we want to make it super subtle where only we know what the nerdy elements are. There's so many different fun things. And especially when you are planning, I say to couples planning your weddings, I start saying, just have a brainstorm. What are your loves? What are your likes? What do you want to do with your wedding day? How do you want it to feel? And so the publications were a great way to show couples and potential clients in my future what is possible for your wedding day. And it just so happens that these blogs are like a big deal. Yeah. Everybody needs a space to go to plan your wedding at some point. Like you want to have that well of inspiration. So big blogs like Offbeat Wed or Rock and Roll Bride, big alternative. I have to say alternative because I have no other, quirky, unconventional. All the unconventional, like out of the box people tend to go to these places to find their out of the box inspiration, to be encouraged to do their own out of the box inspiration. So yeah, anytime I could get into a publication, both in mainstream and I'll call it the off Broadway, the Broadway versus Broadway world, I was trying to get my name out there in all of the worlds, because we all know a quirky weirdo down the street that's probably getting married and needs somebody who understands the quirky weirdness of themselves, which is who I am. Like if it's not me, there's a few other voices out there too that understand your quirkiness. And so that's kind of where I went with all the publications, is making sure that my niche, my hyper niche of this little tiny space in the wedding world was seen and heard. And I think I did a great job.
Well, there is a very, very special date happening in 2024.
You're right.
You know the one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
May the 4th be with
you.
May the May 4th be with you, because
May
it is a Saturday. So
it's on a Saturday.
If you are listening, May 4th is going to be an extremely popular date next year. So if that's the weekend you're looking for, make sure that you book your vendors as early as you can, because that is a date. There's
a lot more Star Wars nerds than you know out there that are already probably booking May 4th. And when I work the Renaissance festivals, I usually don't start getting bookings until a couple of months ahead of time. So I'm used to last minute bookings for fairs. But yeah, when it comes to what I would call traditional or more conventional weddings, where you have a venue that you've booked out for 6 to 8 hours and people are booking a year in advance for this kind of stuff. But I got to tell you, I've been looking forward to May the 4th being on a Saturday again, because it's been in the middle of the week and not everybody can do May 3rd or May 4th, May 5th.
Yep.
Get married on Cinco de Mayo instead.
I do have a groom that is walking down the aisle in Star Wars attire.
Yay!
On May 4th.
What kind of attire? I must know. Is it a stormtrooper, Darth Vader, or Luke?
I think it's Kylo Ren.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Yeah,
I love it.
With the mask.
Hopefully he removes it at some point to
It's going to be hard to kiss the bride with the mask on. So I have a feeling it's probably going to come off as soon as we get down the aisle.
And that's another one of those things that comes up from time to time when you're talking costumes and cosplay. A lot of people when they get the pushback from their family and friends, it's usually that kind of stuff. Like, no, you can't wear elf ears because what are you going to think in your photos? Or, what's grandma going to think? Or, stuff like that. Like me, I'm like, if your elf ears are removable, just take them off for some of the photos.
Exactly. I think it goes back to every couple is different, and every couple's definition of a dream wedding is not the same.
Absolutely.
And you have to plan your wedding like you're going to look back at it 20 years from now and go, that wedding was so much fun. I am so glad we did everything the way that we did it. And people say weddings are timeless. To me, that's timeless too. It's not just about the dress. It's about the experience being timeless as well.
Well, also, you have to understand as well, like everyone listening, that photography is one of the handfuls of things that are left over besides your brain memories. So if you don't have photos, and that was my mistake as a new couple and trying to figure out how to do my own wedding, I knew I wanted photography, but I didn't know the depths until, I don't know, like 10 years later. I was like, that's what I would have wanted. I would have wanted to hire a photographer to capture my entire day, no matter how weird, no matter how silly all the photos came back. I would have wanted the entire day captured. And I think that's something to think about as you're planning currently, because this is the Dream Day planning podcast, is that the photography is one of the things that is left over at the end of it. So hire somebody that you can hang out with all day long, that gets you, that delivers the images that you want. Not every style is the same. It's the same with your wedding. Not every style of photography is the same. And not every photographer really digs your alternative quirkiness. I've had people get really sad because they didn't find me sooner because they were like, if only I would have met you a year ago. And I said, I know I'm here, but I'm just trying to get out into the world so people know that I am here. But I also want to say that there's nothing wrong with planning a vow renewal, because how many people did we know after COVID go ahead and plan that big vow renewal or the renewing of their vows in general, and make it a big party because of what we all went through together. And
Well, I
I'm
think
seeing that.
COVID changed all of that, because I think people appreciate gathering now,
Yeah,
because
I know I
for a
do.
while you just couldn't. And, I think as a wedding professional, I treasure the job that I get to do, because I love bringing ideas to life and watching people enjoy the joy from that. And there's nothing better. And I felt like that was taken away from vendors during COVID. It was taken away from couples. It was taken away from the vendors that serve them. And I think we're all just so glad to be back doing what we love and, bringing joy into people's lives.
Absolutely. I 100% agree on that, because I love the joy that I'm seeing more and more and more. And yes, many of us still have those bad days that rise up, and we have a lot of things in the world happening. But I also know that when we find that joy in between these pockets of, pain and sorrow, this is the kind of stuff that I really get excited about, because this is life. This is how life is designed. We're supposed to have all of these things. And I really just think that we can't hold on to joy every single moment of every single day, but find it when you can and grab onto it and give it a big hug.
Oh, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. You feel my hug?
Yes. And, enjoy your wedding day. Learn how to enjoy your day without being stressed. And then even after your wedding, you have a marriage to get into, y'all. Like, don't forget about the marriage part. Like, as much effort you're putting into your wedding, don't forget about your marriage too. It's amazing. Enjoy the rest of your lives together.
The marriage is the fun part. That's what I think. I've enjoyed. I mean, we're celebrating 20 years being married next year, and I've enjoyed.
Aw.
I mean, we've had our ups and downs and curveballs and highs and lows, and I can't imagine doing it with anybody else. So.
Yeah, same. I'm at 18 years, and I set up a vow renewal where he proposed to me. Talk about getting photography and making it count. Is that he proposed to me at Kid Craddock in the Morning, a local radio TV morning show. And
how
then
fun.
I set up a vow renewal so we could enjoy 18 years together on the air. And just have that moment of, I spent a lot of my life before I became a photographer working the 9 to 5. And this is before Clubhouse, y'all. You're listening to your radio morning show. How much more, audio can you need? Like, I'm listening to the radio show. This is before video streaming, all of that stuff. And to have these faces and places, and this goes for any couples planning their weddings, anything that's special to you, get it captured, get it momentized, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, this year I made it extra special and celebrated our 18 years at the radio station and had photos made. And I was like, that was the quickest in and out of my life. Did a cute little vow renewal and everything. It was amazing.
Oh, Jen, I'm so excited for you. How can people find you?
Well, so you can still surf me on all of the social media apps currently. I'm under Weirdo Weddings if you want to see all my weirdness and quirkiness. And you're not everything is going to be thematic, but it is going to be those internal and external weirdos find me no matter what. So I'm always going to show the weddings that I work and the people that I work with, and I talk about their details and their ideas and even my own personal ideas. So you'll find me everywhere on Weirdo Weddings. And then if you want to see my more, somewhat tame side, you can go to Pink Light Images. Which, my bright pink hair lets the cat out of the bag. Let's just say that, But I just love what I do, and I love photographing moments because I've been doing it my whole life, like living moments my whole life, and just always wanting to not just have it in my head, but also have it somewhere where I could see it, even a print or a digital or something. But I just love what I do, and I love meeting quirky couples.
Well, we've loved having you on here, Jen. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning into your Dream Day podcast. You can visit us at dreamdaypodcast.com. If you want more information about your dream day, if you're thinking that maybe you need a little help planning your wedding, visit us at yourdreamday.com. This is Kathy Piech-Lukas. Please subscribe to our podcast and happy planning.